Oh dear.
Get on with it then.
Welcome, bienvenue. Welcome to the first property show of this week. Yes, I know there are 4 of them. Property matters today, of course. It's a kind of magic tomorrow, which is celebrating everything Ipso, the independent personal search agents, of which Hamish is the current chairman. Then we got on Thursday our lovely bit of a bun fight, which is property quorum. We get all our team experts to talk amongst themselves about the latest movement and within the property environment, if you will. And on Friday we have cladding matters, and cladding matters all to do with health and safety, and specifically in the building of buildings old and new. Started with just being cladding, now extend out. Please do catch them, well worth it. If you're missing any of them, please make sure you find your way to Spilling the Proper Tea, which is a YouTube channel, which all the old ones are there. You can search it. We cover all sorts of topics. Anyway, back to today. As ever, we've got Hamish McClay by my side of Search and Convey, and today's special guest, Phil Priest of the 44 stamp. I keep reading that 45. 4 stamp SDLT solution for solicitors. Wonderful. Thank you very much for making the time, Phil.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, marvelous. But to get us going, let me just first of all regale you with today's topic. Sweet Andy Burnham and the future of stamp duty. Hamish, would you get us going?
Well, fortunate we are indeed today to have with us Phil, because what he actually will let him explain it more fully. However, his particular sort of team are experts with our stamp duty and the payments thereof, and because of that, I mean, we need specialists within the world of conveyancing. That's very, very true. And unfortunately, like has happened so often in the past, an awful lot of responsibility has been dumped on solicitors, that all of a sudden they feel they're expected to become knowledgeable about climate change. They need to be knowledgeable about drainage and water. And the more recent one is they need to be knowledgeable about SDLT. They need to become tax advisors. So basically everything goes through. They're responsible for it. Anything goes wrong, it's their PI cover that gets hit. Whereas to bring a team along that know exactly what they're doing, and therefore going to keep an eye on all those particular changes, it saves any of the people that Phil works with from having to concern themselves about what is happening, because he will have figured it out already well before they've done. So when we get a subject like this, I mean, it's very, very worrying. We've got somebody without any mandate whatsoever coming in to mess with whatever he chooses, I guess, explaining what he's going to be doing. And I haven't actually gone into the finer details, but I know I'm a little bit anxious about what things can go wrong. So possibly Phil can actually bring us up to speed with what he does, and up to speed what he thinks Mr. Burnham might get up to as well.
Well, welcome to the show, Phil. I noticed there's a sudden influx of people tuning in, so let's not keep our public waiting. Please, can you help us explain, first of all, what is 4 stamp about? What is the SDLT in itself? Just for, I know that most people will know instantly, but I'm a vaguely qualified idiot, so I really don't know, and I'd love you to explain it to me. And then whether we should be worried about what the direction to which Andy Burnham's cabinet in the waiting room will be taking.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. Thanks, Hamish. So it's a bit of an introduction. So my name's Phil. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of 4 Stamp. We predominantly work with hundreds of law firms across the UK. That's growing day by day. And what we do is we take away the risk and improve the compliance of calculating stamp duty. So that's what we do, and we underwrite that, and we ensure that our tax team, of which we've got a reasonably good sized tax team now, and we've been doing this for a couple of years. So that's what we do. I think that it's difficult. Stamp duty has always been one of those things the lawyers have done for 23 years now. I always look at my dates. And when it was first introduced, it was actually classed as the simple tax. And it was a percentage of the property price, flat out, that was it. Since then, it's morphed and evolved. There's doing different buying schemes and structures and people's circumstances. There's now around 7 different layers that can affect stamp duty, not just where it is and how much is it and what type of buyer are you. There's several more. It's difficult to put a number on the number of exemptions and reliefs. There are circa 85, but the government calculator only accounts for 2. So anyone still using government calculator, unfortunately, is missing out on acting in the best interest of their client to ensuring that they're meeting or paying the right amount of tax. Then you've got case law as well, which is obviously constantly changing with different court cases and judgments, depending on whose side it's going to be on. So that's where it's going to go very complex and confusing. And lawyers don't have the time. They're very, very time poor. They have high caseloads. Conveyancing is known for that. They're constantly, as Hamish has mentioned, constantly trying to appease the SRA, the Law Society, or CQS, depending on who's your master, to make sure that you're covering your backside. We used to call it CYA when I was in a law firm, to ensure that you're not going to get sued. And stamp duty has always been missed because it's just a calculation. That now has changed. As of May the 18th, law firms are required to register with HMRC. So they've now got a new master. The master of HMRC is going to be far worse than the other 3 put together, I can assure you. And what they're now doing is they're now classed as tax advisors. So you're not just a legal professional, you're now a tax advisor. I think we can be frank and say that HMRC have done this. HMRC's primary role in all of our lives is to make money, is to collect tax and penalties and fees. And they wouldn't have done this if they didn't foresee there was going to be some revenue at the end of it.
Right.
That's hypothetical, but we get to see that. Law firms have until August the 18th to have registered. If they're not registered, they can't act for lenders because they can't act with HMRC. So everybody, if you're on this call and you haven't registered as a firm, please do, because unless you're only doing sales, which I don't know any law firm that is only doing sales, you can't do remortgages and you can't do purchases because of the lender requirements for holding stamp duty, etc. But that means they're going to have to now start to evidence. And this is the thing that a lot of people are misunderstanding or not quite, they're not understanding the level of depth that needs to go into this. So we evidence everything because we know HMRC will come knocking. And when they come knocking, we can produce all the evidence of how we got to a number. And then the client will confirm that number is correct and the information that we're working out is correct on. You add that onto a caseload of a conveyancer that's already got 100 files. And I'm getting emails at 10:30 at night, at 3 o'clock in the morning, weekends of conveyancers having to do their normal job and then do more. This is another thing, as Hamish said, that's been added to their workload and risk that they're not trained for, they're not qualified for. Some have got some amazing experience in it, and I'm not doubting the level of experience that people have, but tax is an exceedingly fast changing landscape, and they don't have the ability of time to keep up with that. So that's what we do. That's the problem with solicitors, or the problem the solicitors are facing, to be completely honest. And we see it day in, day out, which is why we work with, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of law firms now to do all of their cases, because it's always the simple one that's going to catch you out.
All right. Now, the topic is crystal ball gazing, as I'm sure you love doing. Where do you think, and which way do you think Andy Burnham's going to jump?
Okay, so this is probably better done over a beer, to be honest, guys.
Imagine, if you will,
Yeah,
a beverage of yours, a virtual beverage of your
yeah.
choosing, is floating about three inches in front of you.
Fantastic. So,
And before you sup on its non-alcoholic content,
yes,
please pour forth.
There's two weighing options here. The first option is really simple. They generate billions of pounds worth of revenue from stamp duty every single year. Estimation is about 12 billion a year.
So is it
It's
the
being
cash
paid out.
cow? Is it the government cash cow in a way?
I think we heard of a black hole was 30 million from the current chancellor,
Right.
which they're trying to fill, which they inherited. We're talking 12 billion.
Yes.
Those numbers are not close. And
No, not even vaguely.
I don't see where, and this is obviously the political side of it, isn't it? I don't see how they would plug that gap of 12 billion. It is a votes grab, being completely honest. It's a very difficult thing to try and push through when they're trying to fill that much of a financial hole.
So what you're alluding to is the fact that there were rumors at some point of potentially scrapping it. Is that right?
The Conservatives have said the same. They want to scrap stamp duty,
but they can't. That scrapping stamp duty would be like cutting their legs off.
There is that. But when you think that the majority of people pay stamp duty when they move, in fact, high majority pay stamp duty when they're moving home, apart from first-time buyers, for them to save 2, 5, 10, 20, I had one this week was £234,000 in stamp duty. I mean, that's a lot of money in just tax. Yeah. I mean, it's a big property, so it's all relative, but that's a lot. Now, if they change the thresholds,
right,
to first-time buyers, because that's not kept up realistically with the changes of property prices.
Right.
Taxes don't keep up with industry or fiscal moves. So rate of base pay versus income tax hasn't changed. That's why a lot of people are falling into a different band. So would they change that to make it better for people to get on the ladder, or for people to move and make a slight change to the percentages? That might work. But then you've got another option, which is they will scrap it and call it something else, Gareth. Because they will.
Are you saying they're just moving the chairs around on the deck of the Titanic?
Yeah, we've had the Renters' Right Bill come on recently, which is obviously to attack the independent landlords. And I was speaking to a solicitor, said they did exactly the same in the 80s and then reversed it in the 90s because they realized there was anywhere for anyone to rent. So this constant cycle of being, it's the ultimate football supporter, isn't it? We're all easy to forget when we're riding on the roll of how bad things were, but then it's easy to forget how good things were when we're not doing so well. So we're all very, very easy to forget things. Yeah, I think if they renamed it, that's an option. They will call it poll tax. I'm sure I've heard that before.
No, I lived through the last poll tax riots. Not again.
That's what'll happen. I mean, these are the guys that just think they've come up with something new and think, oh, that seems like a good name, we'll call it that. My business partner worked out that based on the percentages, he would be £1,500 a year worse off because of this poll tax potential, which would replace stamp duty. So for those that have bought, you've paid stamp duty. I'm sure we all have.
Oh yes, I remember very painfully.
And they will replace council tax with poll tax. which will be a percentage of your property value, and you'll pay that every year. So they'll actually penalise you for owning a house, but you've paid stamp duty. So it's a very, very unfair model to get rid of it. And if they did get rid of it completely, house prices would inflate, because now your £10,000 stamp duty liability on your, I don't know, £330,000 house move. Those numbers aren't correct, by the way. I've just made those up, but as a relative, that house price will be 340,000,
Right?
because you're not paying stamp duty. So there's always a move. It just
Okay.
depends on how it works.
Well,
But will it do it?
I'm feeling suitably scared now. Hamish, do you remember the poll tax riots? That was.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, this was highly amusing. I wasn't rioting. I didn't need to riot. I'm a little bit more subtle than that. I just didn't bother paying any monies to the council.
Right.
And it was quite amusing because a group had said to me, "Oh, Hamish, do you want to join this group? We refuse to pay." Now in Scotland they refused to pay.
Yes.
That's where they had to revoke it pretty bloody quick, because
Well, yeah, but that's because
as a
the whole
society,
country,
the whole country,
the whole country
now
said no.
we're back in England now, and this guy, I was approached, Hamish, would you like to join us? So I did. And eventually it came round to the grand old scrap in court. So I phoned them up and said, "Hey guys, what do we do now about this poll tax thing? I'm off to go." "Oh, we paid ours a long time ago."
Oh God.
And
They hung you out to dry.
yeah. Well, yes, it was quite amusing, but at least Militant Tendency asked me if I'd like to actually sort of tie up with them, because they liked my presentation in court. So it was actually sort of good fun. But the problem is, people tend to look at, when we're bearing in mind that we have government after government which seems to be totally inexperienced in the subject about which they're meant to be representing. Whichever minister you put in, they've never represented that part of the industry before. And unfortunately, what does Andy Burnham know about stamp duty? I mean, he's never done anything other than work for Parliament or the Labour Party. So he's not going to know about everyday people, because he's always been.
He was an everyday mayor.
Well, yeah, of course, everybody has the opportunity to be an everyday mayor, don't they? But yeah, but it's how much he spent that was unnecessary. You know, like 100 billion on a transport system. But the great thing, was in a wonderful position then as a mayor, because he just said to the Labour government, hey chaps, I've just screwed up. Could you bung me another 100 billion? So they did. You can't do that now. But the challenge is, as Phil said, the fact that he's intending to strap it on each on I don't know quite how that helps really land charges anyway. But whatever way is going to happen, we've got the good fortune. My concern is when people try and do this, they don't have any experience. They don't know what the full impact, what the full outcome is going to be. Whereas as I said, in a way, I don't need to understand it, because if somebody like Phil there is actually sort of working it out, all I've got to do is pick up the phone and say, "Phil, what's going on?" Because they are specialists. Andy Burnham and the Labour government are not experienced in reality. Well, one of them is the ex deputy leader, because she screwed up with this stamp duty. I mean, had she got a solicitor working with Phil, things could have been different then. Because as I said, Phil's been working with this for a good couple of years now, so he can actually sort of see what's going on in the background there. Us sort of mere humans, we don't understand it. We don't need. But the beauty of it is, if you've got an expert, we don't need to understand it, do we?
Well, theoretically. Thank you so much, Hamish. Thank you so much, Phil. To all of you out there, if you are puzzling over stamp duty and praying for salvation and you need a priest, well, I got one right here. Sorry about that. It was
That's fine. That's I like it. I love it.
All right. But hopefully you'll come back again. We can talk more about this as we get more information, Phil. But yeah, to all of you, there are logic out there. If you get your experts around you, Hamish and I have always been banging on about this, you will do so much better in the property game if you make sure that at every turn you have a specialist in that area. And now that you are woken up to the fact that that stamp duty isn't just a simple thing anymore, it's a massive number of opportunities to mitigate it. If only you had a specialist that could direct you to get the right figures down, hint hint, then you could do so much better. Anyway, I waffle on enough. Thank you so
Thanks,
much, everyone,
Gareth.
for sticking with us.
Just to say one thing, Gareth, about the tax bit is, if you are looking at buying, don't leave your SDLT calculation to the end. Time in tax is very important, and time's our friend. When we have time with clients, it can significantly affect their end result and their circumstance towards the end. So if you are thinking of buying, reach out to someone that understands it in order to make sure that they've got enough time to work with you. It is tax planning at the end of the day, and it's actually not expensive either in the grand scheme of things. It's a lot more expensive to get it wrong.
Yes, it doesn't bear thinking
yes.
about. Thank you so much, Hamish.
Thanks, Hamish.
And thanks, Phil, for appearing today, and to you watching it. Remember, tomorrow we've got Ipsy Kind of Magic. Until then, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and in these troubled and bizarre times, stay hydrated and make sure you look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.